Hi, my name's Matt Locke, and this is the Everyday Athlete Podcast, the podcast for the everyday athletes around the world who refuse to be average and who want to create a legacy of health, fitness, and achievement in every aspect of their life. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it's time to forge your future. Jacob, welcome to the podcast. It is a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really well, bro. How are you?
Yeah, it's all good at this end. It's spring has arrived. So we've just had a weekend of beautiful sunny weather. It was quite warm, and I'm currently wearing shorts and a t-shirt for the first time in many months.
Winning.
Absolutely. Although, given where you are, you wear shorts and t-shirts year round. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you?
So I'm on the Gold Coast, Australia. Definitely a beautiful place to live. Like you said, you can wear shorts and t-shirt year round. Beach is just around the corner. So I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to live in such a beautiful, beautiful place.
No, that's awesome. No, the Gold Coast, indeed, beautiful part of the world. So, yeah, so you are known as the plant-based gorilla. And
Yeah.
for anyone watching this on the YouTube channel would understand why, because you are a bit of a unit, right? You're about 100 kilos. Is that right at the moment? 100, 105?
Mate, at the moment, I'm about 113 kilos.
113 kilos. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I've been doing a bit more squats and bench press and deadlifts, so my body's just putting on a few kegs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, certainly anyone watching on YouTube will see that you are an absolute unit, and for sure in the show notes we'll have some links of you in action. So, which is awesome to watch. But in addition to being what can only described as the ultimate man's man in terms of appearance, huge, got the beard, got the rock in the bun, man bun, and so on. But actually, a bit of a teddy bear at heart, right?
Oh, definitely, man. I've always been very in tune with my body and my emotions, and I'm not scared to show vulnerability and show my emotions, man. I've got a lot of love in my life, and for me to sort of try and bottle that down would just be silly. So yeah, I'm definitely not scared to shed a tear of joy or sadness or whatever my emotions come up. I'm not scared to delve into them.
That's awesome, mate. We need more Jacobs in the world. But you say you got a lot of love in your life. Talk us through, what does that look like? You've got your wife Bev and your very new daughter Arlo, correct?
Yep, that's it, man. So, yeah, I've got my partner Bev, I've got my beautiful daughter Arlo, and my dog Diggs, who's just as much part of our family as Arlo. So,
Absolutely.
Man, like I said, I'm just full of love at the moment. My life is looking pretty good, and just love it, man. It's just the simple things, That's one thing I've definitely realized since having a daughter is these simple moments are the things that really, really matter. So, It's incredible.
That's awesome. And how old is Arlo at the time we're recording this? How old is she at the moment?
She's 7 weeks.
7 weeks. There you go. So she's definitely fresh.
Yep. Oh man, she's definitely having the changes, of consciousness and trying to talk and laugh, and she sees us, and it's just been crazy, because obviously when they're first born, they're just sleeping and eating, where now you can get reactions from her, and it's just so awesome, man. It takes up a lot of my day, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That is mind-blowing. At 7 weeks old, already you're seeing such dramatic changes in terms of engagement.
She's definitely an overachiever. I think a bit like her dad tries to be. So, literally she was born, the doctor would say, it takes them a while to, latch on to the breast, boom, straight on. And then they go, oh, okay. And then literally hours later, she's holding her neck up, looking around, and the nurses are walking in going, shouldn't be doing that just yet. So she's definitely an overachiever, and she's progressing really quick.
I wonder where she gets that from.
Probably from her mum.
And how's Bev doing? How's she taken to motherhood?
She's doing so well. She's honestly such a strong woman. I just have so much respect for her and all women in general, after witnessing the birth and then seeing how strong they are afterwards. Their bodies go through so much changes that I think us men wouldn't be able to handle it all. We put on a couple of kilos and freak out. So to see her go through that and be able to make that sacrifice of, not going to the gym and not seeing friends and just really committing to our baby girl has just been such an incredible experience. And like I said, my respect for her has always been high, but now it's like goddess level, I'll bow down.
Absolutely. It's interesting. We're doing a series at the moment, all about the 5 life stages for female athletes. everyday athletes, or females in general. I have to say, it doesn't have to be athletes. And as a result, we've been really digging into the details with some subject matter experts. And wow, you know, I genuinely have a much better appreciation for what the female bodies go through from the beginning to the end of their lives. It's far more complicated than us boys have got, like times 100 or more, like crazy.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine, you know, training and doing all these things, and all of a sudden it stops, and then you have to feed 2 people, and then once the baby comes out, you know, you got to heal your body back, and then you got to slowly get back into training. And I get hurt and have to take a week off, and I'm losing my mind, and I'm, you know, looking in the mirror, and I'm going, you know, so yeah, I couldn't imagine what they have to go through. And like I said, that just shows how strong they are mentally to be able to push through that and come out on the other end as stronger women. You know, it's incredible.
Sure, no, absolutely. Now, speaking of looking in the mirror, you mentioned you're currently 113 kilos. Is that your heaviest so far?
No, so my heaviest was when I was doing Strongman. So I had a little Strongman stint, and I committed everything I had to Strongman, and I got up to about 130 kilos was what I was nearly hitting. So that was I was a big boy then, and lifting some crazy heavy weight, and that would be definitely the heaviest I've ever been.
Sure. I saw, as I said, I was stalking you on social media and the like, and I found, I think it's on YouTube, there was a piece with you lifting one of the Atlas stones, which looked bigger than humanly possible, let me tell you. But, I mean, what was your heaviest Atlas stone lift, just as a guide, so we can get a feel for the kind of weights we're talking about?
So literally just a rock of concrete was the heaviest I ever lifted, was 170 kilos up to, I think it was about a 2-meter platform. So you're literally picking it up from the ground and then putting it up and putting it on a platform and pushing it over onto the platform. So that was my heaviest stone, but I think my most impressive Atlas stone was 140 kilos from the ground up onto my shoulder, and then I would hold it there for however long and then drop it down. So that for me was probably my, you know, I look back and I just go, you know, I look at 140 now as a deadlift, and I'm thinking I picked that up and used to put it on my shoulder. So yeah, 170 is the heaviest, but that 140 to my shoulder was for me the most impressive.
my 1 RM deadlift is 155.
yeah.
You're putting a ball of concrete on your shoulder at almost that weight.
Yeah, it was. It's funny when you're in the moment, you know, I remember doing that and I'll just post it up and honestly I didn't think anything of it. Like I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And now that I'm out of that world completely, it's like I look back and I almost watch my videos as a spectator, and I'm just like, how did I do that? Like I'm just like, oh, you know.
Well, the one I saw with relative ease is the way I'd describe it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be lifting those now though. Let's just say that.
So how long ago was that?
Oh man, I'm so bad with timelines, and I came to realize that when I listened back to a podcast I was on, and I was saying all different timelines, but it was definitely a long time ago, years ago. So it was at least I think 3 or 4 years ago. So I was on the back end of bodybuilding. I'd done a bunch of bodybuilding shows and was doing reasonably well in bodybuilding, and I just needed a change. And it was funny because I had actually given CrossFit a little stint, and I loved it, you know, but just I think back then, and probably the specific gym I was in, the community wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I decided to look for something else, and it ended up falling into Strongman when a mate of mine said, you know, come to the Strongman session. And I remember I was freaking out, like, cause you know, it's something new, and I was so nervous, and I just thought, you know what? And that I was like, just go and give it a go. So went and gave it a go, and yeah, man, I absolutely loved it. First session, it was something that I feel like my body type was sort of just built to do, and I just loved it, man. You know, lifting stones and getting dirty, and because, you know, coming from a rugby background and going into bodybuilding, which is quite a I guess pretty sport, you know, I was missing that grittiness. So I went in, and you got grazes all over you from the stones, and you just lifting heavy weight and eating bunches of food, and it was cool, man. But yeah, it just got to a point where I had to step away from it. So
have you put your stage swimmers on recently since you left that world?
I haven't. I'm not gonna lie.
I think you should for an Insta post.
Oh man, I wouldn't look like that anymore. But you know, it's funny because I think at heart, you know, I grew up watching Arnold because, you know, my dad would put it on TV and all the bodybuilding. So at heart, you know, as much as am in the functional world at the moment and look at bodybuilding with a different sort of mindset, I still always look at it and think, I think one day it would be cool to have another crack, because I did it at quite a young age, so I didn't really have that muscle maturity. So I'm like, it'd be cool to just see what I could do now. But yeah, I'm not too sure if that will happen anytime soon. The thought of being on that strict of a diet it makes me cringe.
Sure. Well, it certainly seems like you're an all or nothing kind of guy, and which does segue us nicely onto your diet, because you're called the plant-based gorilla for a reason, and that's because
Yep.
of your diet, obviously. So you follow a plant-based diet, correct?
That's right. Yep. So I've been following a plant-based diet for about 3.5 years. So it's definitely been a good run, so it's good to sort of show people that it wasn't just a short-term thing. And yeah, man, it's definitely helped me kick goals. It's definitely helped me achieve things in sport that I sort of didn't think was possible. So it's been a good transition into this lifestyle.
So it's a very unconventional pivot there, right? To go from strongman, and I'm assuming previously to be that size and to have that size and strength, you must have been eating a lot. And I'm guessing there's a lot of animal product in the animal protein in particular, so meat, I'm assuming.
Definitely. So that was the turning point for me, when I was in bodybuilding. So basically I went from rugby to bodybuilding to strongman to CrossFit. So I just basically dabbled in all of it. And when I was in bodybuilding, I was only having, little bits of fish and chicken and lots, still lots of veggies and stuff. So it wasn't, it didn't seem too crazy. But then once I went to strongman and I sort of started following, the typical strongman diet, which was, kilos of red meat, not much veggies, you're just trying to get calories in. It just became too much, and it literally started taking a toll on my body. So like I said, I was getting up to 130 kilos. I was seeing the doctor regularly, and she was sort of giving me a little hint saying, your cholesterol's climbing, your blood pressure's climbing, you're putting on weight dramatically fast. So yeah, that's when I sort of thought I'm going to make the transition into a plant-based diet. And originally it was only meant to be for a cleanse. I was like, I'm just going to do a vegan plant-based cleanse. I might only last 2 weeks. And that was when I was slowly transitioning into like a CrossFit style training as well. So yeah, man, it just all sort of fell into place, and the results, I guess, were just phenomenal, and that's why I was stuck at it for so long.
It's the best motivation in the world, isn't it? When you feel better and you see your performance improve. Like, what more do you need in terms of proof, I guess? But
definitely.
What were the most obvious changes for you?
For me, the first obvious change was weight loss. So in a good way. So obviously I came from strongman, which was, I was watery, I was puffy, I was inflamed, I was, just not a very good poster boy for health, if you ask me. So that was the first thing I noticed was dropping the water weight, a lot of the inflammation and the joint pain was going, and literally just feeling incredible. So for the first, I would say, month, I just felt like, wow, like it was just, I've always said it like this, and people think it's a bit corny, but I said it was like fireworks were going off in my body. I would eat something, and obviously I went cold turkey, so I just cut out all animal products and went fully plant-based. And I would eat something, and I felt like my body was just thanking me, and it was just exploding in my body and giving me this energy and these surges of energy. I stopped napping during the day. I just had this newfound outlook on life and energy in life. So that's why I sort of went more into the functional CrossFit style of training, because I was like, I've got all this energy and my body's feeling good and my joints are feeling good. I want to use it. So naturally progressed into more of a CrossFit style training.
Yeah, absolutely. I as we talked about off camera, I mean, I can relate. I've been plant-based for 7 or 8 years now, and I was smiling when you were talking because I can relate to so many elements of that.
Yep.
And for me, it was the recovery.
Yep.
I just recovered faster. I could have a massive, I was doing lots of ultra distance triathlon training. I'd had, big training days, and I would just bounce back the next day better than I had ever done before. And
Yep.
yourself, I haven't heard the fireworks thing before, but it's kind of right. You kind of feel like, I felt like I was popping. I just
That's it, man.
like I hadn't known before. And I didn't do it cold turkey. Again, you're all in, right? You went just boom, done. I cut out meat, so I went vegetarian for about 3 or 4 months. educated myself more and more throughout that, and decided to, I watched Forks Over Knives. The documentary was the turning point for me. I watched that and found it very compelling. And for me, actually, the biggest difference was ditching dairy. Knowing what I know now, if someone said, oh, I couldn't possibly go plant-based, but I could try it, I'd go, all right, then. For me, I'd say start with dairy, kick the dairy, and then you'll naturally stop eating meat once you feel the difference. But definitely recovery was the thing. So, I mean, and it's obvious, right? I mean, the less inflammation. I mean, anything I've read and listened to that I believe talks about, you know, all of us have some sort of inflammatory response to dairy at some level. We might not be aware of it, but it's there. And therefore, reducing dairy means that the natural inflammation we get through heavy training is not then compounded by having that increased existing inflammation from what we're eating. So, yeah, I'm so pleased that was your experience. And of course, that's the best motivation in the world to keep going. That's
right, man. And it's like you said, it's I'm a big advocate at the moment for making those small changes. You know, I haven't been perfect in this 3.5 years. You know, I'm not going to jump on here and lie to people. Like I've had slip ups. I've questioned it. I've had moments where I've not known if it's the right thing to do, but I've always came back to my core values and realized that it is. You know, I'm on this path for a reason, and I do feel really good. But I don't like to lie to people. You know, I've definitely had slip ups. I've like I said, I've questioned it, but that's why now, and the people around me, you know, when I very first did it, I went plant-based, and, you know, I was pretty full on with it. And coming across to people with that view of sort of being like, this is what you have to do, and if you don't do it, you're a bad person, just for me wasn't working. So for me personally, my message now is making those small changes and showing them the benefits that they can have instead of telling them the negatives that they're doing, if that makes sense. So it's sort of being like, look, this is what I do, make these small changes, and then you might feel better in your athletic performance, and everyday life can progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I always like to frame it in I'm not preachy. I don't tend to do that. Actually, I'm often not the one that will bring it up. It's interesting, even now, 7 or 8 years later, we go out with a group of mates and family or whoever, and we sit down and it becomes a topic of conversation, but I haven't said a word. And I know I'm going to find something on the menu that I'm good with. No problem at all. But it's, immediately, what are you going to eat? What are you going to have? And then, you're going to have the steak, and the usual banter, let's say.
Man,
which
I
amazes
can't
me,
agree
even 7 or 8 years later. In fact, some friends have only ever known me to be plant-based, and still it becomes a topic of conversation, but not in a bad way. But I always say it the same way, whereby I don't see it as restrictive. Because a lot of people go, oh, plant-based, well, what can you eat? It's not, hang on a minute, there's lots. It's not restrictive at all. And I like to try and make it accessible to people if they're interested, by just saying, look, don't think about what you can't have. If you just start adding extra or new foods in, by default, you're going to displace some of the other foods. Think of it that way. So it's not restrictive in that way. You just naturally displace some of the food. And it's not about perfection. It's about progress. And even the terminology, it's funny, isn't the terminology, slip-ups. Oh, I've had some slip-ups. Like, it is what it is. Like, like you put what you want in your mouth. Anyone can. But I understand there's a stigma attached to it. You're either plant-based or you're not. And if you are somehow making a statement, and you're going to be judged if you slip off. I don't know.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's that for me, for the first part of my journey, I was scared to tell people, because I'm going, what if I decide not to do it, or what if something happens, or, because your life's forever changing, like you just never know. So I just was scared to even tell people. And then it wasn't until I sort of had that confidence to be like, no, look, I'm still human. Like we've said, we've had, I like to just quote unquote call them slip ups, but this predominantly is the lifestyle that I've lived. And when I'm talking slip ups, I'm not talking all the time, but there's been just moments in my life. So definitely, man. And that's being surrounded by mostly people who aren't plant-based. I feel like that the way that you and I are getting it across is going to sort of help them to give this lifestyle a try, instead of like we said before we got on here. I really like the thought of showing people the good side of things and showing them what they can do and how it's going to help them, instead of being like, this is the bad side and this is what you're doing wrong. Because I'm like that. If someone came to me before I did this and said, you're this, you're that, I'd be like, I'm not going to do it out of spite, I think. So, for me, it's been like, people will be like, how can you do this and that athletic wise? And I'll be like, well, I think my diet has contributed and helped me to that. And then they go, well, wow, I might give that a go. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you're a pioneer. You're leading by example, and that's awesome. And if I think about the documentary that's more recent, I guess, than Forks Overnight, Game Changers, I think they handled it really nicely because they told the story through performance, through actual real life examples. And again, for me, it's about breaking down the stigma around the word vegan. I often use the word vegan to be understood. I'm technically not,
of course,
because I wear leather products. I eat honey, for example. So I'm not actually vegan, but I'm not repelled by the name. I just find there's more stigma attached to it. But often if I say plant-based, I think that can be confusing for some people. They don't really understand what it means. And so I tend to say the V word. But thankfully, I think it's got, it's becoming more mainstream. And, we've got the millennials and the next wave coming through who are much more open to it. And it's normalized it very much. So I think we're still a couple of generations away from it being the norm. And that's okay. That means that people like you are pioneers leading the way. And that's awesome. And look, you're a PT, right? That's what you do for a living. And so your clients have the advantage of seeing your performance, seeing how you live your life, and the advice that you give them. And that's awesome. That's all we can do, isn't it? Have an impact. We all live in our own little bubble, and we can only really try and have a positive impact within that bubble, and reach as many people as we can for those who are ready to receive it. And for the rest, that's okay. They'll maybe...
That's it, man. I think that's, being a personal trainer, it's made me realize and really humbled me to the notion that it is hard for people to make that change, whether it be through culture or they've been eating animal products their whole life, and it's just hard for them to make that change. Because I'll have clients come to me and say, literally, I want to look like you and do what you do. I go, okay, well, this is what I do. And then they go, oh, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that though. And I say, well, that's what I do. But if you want to have similar results to me, then I'm not saying one diet fits all, but I'm just saying this is what I do, and they kind of get this really weird look on their face, and they're like, I can't follow a plant-based diet. Like, are you crazy? So it's let me know that it is hard for people to make that change. And some people, it's going to take longer than others. And once I accepted that, it made my life a lot easier, because, when I first started, obviously you get all the knowledge come your way about what the animal industry actually is doing, and you obviously get flooded with information, and then you just want to tell people and you want them to know the truth, where that can be very overwhelming for some people. So everyone's in different parts of their life. You can tell someone and they just absorb it all and go, all right, well, like that's all I needed to know. Or you can tell some people and they just go, no, that's too much, and they either fully shut off to it, and then whenever they hear it, and they just don't want to hear it at all. So that's where I've learned to just sort of try and let people know slowly, and again, let them know that I've had slip ups, and if you're going to make mistakes, it's all right. It's just it's about getting back on the wagon, and and getting back into your core values and what you believe in.
Yeah, it's a bit like any diet, really. I mean, it doesn't matter what you by diet. I mean, in terms of what you eat on a consistent basis. If someone's trying to be vegetarian and they slip and have a bacon and egg roll one day, well, that doesn't mean it's all over. It's just that's all right. Start again, next meal. Will Henker is head of programming for the Bay Games. He's owner of a company called Wonderfit. He's a coach for the program by Wonderfit. He's a super cool guy, very knowledgeable, very experienced. And I really liked his take on it, which was, he said basically, his comment was, he said, everyone knows how to eat properly. He said, look, he says to his clients, he said, just try not to eat two bad meals next to each other. Like if you have something a bit crappy for lunch, make sure you have a good dinner. And he said, basically, just don't be an asshole with your diet.
Yep, that's awesome.
Kind of perfect.
It's perfect. So true. It's exactly what you said. It's funny if someone slips up on a normal diet, no worries. But if you come out and say I'm plant-based or vegan, and you go, okay, I want to be open with you guys, I've had a slip up. Oh, you're fake. You're a liar. You're this. You're that. And it's like, it's actually the opposite. I'm trying to be honest, and I truly believe that you know, we've all made mistakes in life, whether it be on diet or something else, and in another aspect of life. So if you're not willing to own those mistakes and be open with your audience, you know, it's going to be a sort of a rough journey for you along the way. But yeah, man, I love that saying that your mate said. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, I'm conscious of time, and I'm also conscious we haven't touched what you actually eat. So I think we're going to have to do that in a separate podcast episode. But for now, if people want to reach out and get in touch with you, as I imagine they would like to, how would they do that?
So honestly, at the moment, the best platform is my Instagram. So it's literally just my name, Jacob Hohua, which is spelled Hohua. Shoot me a DM, you know, and I try to get back to people as much as possible. Or you can jump on my Facebook. Like you said, I've got a few little YouTube videos that you can check out. Everything's literally just my name. I'm lucky that I've got a weird last name, so people can't take it. So yeah, if you search up my name on most of those platforms, you'll probably find me. But yeah, Instagram would be the best place if you want to actually connect and have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you for that. And I'll put all of those details in the show notes for this podcast, of course. Jacob, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure, and I can't wait to dive into what a day of eating actually looks like for you. Even though you probably get bored of telling the story, I look forward to our audience being exposed to that, because it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I love it, mate. I can't wait to tell them. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there you have it. Thanks very much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. And if you think that one of your training buddies would also enjoy this, go ahead and share it with them right now. With that said, thank you once again. And as always, be brave, have fun, and lead by example.